Hello, welcome back and welcome in. My name is Nikki Wheeler. If you're interested in gaming, go subscribe to my other channel and follow my Twitch to see my gaming live. Now, let's start this video. Today, I'll be discussing Katy Perry, the household name most people love. She has gone through many phases known for her eclectic and sexy style and fashion in her music videos and beyond. She has been in the recent seasons of American Idol and is preparing to release a brand new album, but I will not be delving into her endeavors as of late. I'll be going straight into her previous work that has made her who she is today, starting with her official debut, One of the Boys. This album is technically her second studio album because her genuine first album, titled Katy Hudson, had been wiped from all platforms by her. One of the Boys was released in 2008 and included some of her earliest hits that I still enjoy: Hot and Cold, I Kissed a Girl, and You're So Gay. Just going into Hot and Cold first, the overall mood of the song is happy yet snide. She's talking about her significant other being wishy-washy and indecisive. I think the actual songwriting could be better, but for its time, I think this was peak for pop music. It reminds me of an early Britney Spears mixed with Alanis Morissette. It is obviously a little dramatic and played up, but I think the music video pushed the narrative of being indecisive much farther than the lyrics ever could. It was actually one of my favorite parts of the song, much more than the production of it, which hit more into the alt-pop lines. When you go into the song I Kissed a Girl, though, it becomes boisterous and confident. The song starts off with rationalizing and giving a reason as to why this kiss happened. It incorporated new wave and some glam rock elements, which gave it the glitz it needed to make it softer and a more easygoing track. Again, the lyrics aren't strong when you look back at it, but I think the lyrics being easy made it so memorable on top of the actual topic at the time. Speaking on this topic, the song You're So Gay had been controversial and probably still is, but I can say it was a well-produced song and can be jammed to. It was about a guy who fits all the gay guy stereotypes and not being masculine enough, putting emphasis on not actually being gay. She went on to say how she wanted him to be honest with himself to her. She is negatively judging this person based on their lifestyle and how they choose to live. While I don't agree with the song itself, the music backing it is pretty good and probably some of the best on the album. The song just kind of knocks the quality down overall as an album because, for one, it does stick out, and it also just feels kind of gross to listen to when thinking about it lyrically. The next album was released only 2 years later in 2010, Teenage Dream. This was a worldwide breakthrough album for her, nearly breaking Michael Jackson's record of having 5 number 1 hits from one album. The whole album was a hit, front to back, but some of my favorites were Teenage Dream, Peacock, and Firework. Teenage Dream celebrates the heady feeling of infatuation and encourages young people to revel in their love without worrying about what others may say or think by suggesting just living in the moment without looking back. It has a retro feeling in the backing music and production that was styled with power pop. You can just hear the yearning while still being energetic. It was a satisfying start to the album just for it to revel in much more success later. The second song I loved was Peacock. It hugely suggests images of male genitalia and has a repetitive refrain and chorus. I compare the song to Mickey by Tony Basil, just a little worse. It is one of the very few true dance pop records that could fully convince me to actually get up and dance. This whole album is kind of like that, actually. I also have heard the song was controversial, with the label that is. They didn't want it on the album because of the insinuations and potential radio disaster. Turns out it was a hit, and it had been certified platinum and kind of turned into a low-level gay anthem, not only for the lyrics, but also the visual of a peacock representing individuality. She set the precedent early on that this album was supposed to be just fun and nothing too serious. The closest to a serious song is Firework, which is an inspiring anthem encouraging listeners to be the best version of themselves and to recognize their potential. She has long, drawn-out notes throughout the whole song, expanding on the confident and explosive personality she has portrayed on the rest of Teenage Dream. I have loved this song for years now, and not only just because it was a meme. The song does have a hype vibe, but I find the actual lyrics very cheesy. It is a traditional hype man words of wisdom type speech. But if I were to choose between basic inspirational pop song like Fight Song or this, Firework definitely would be my go-to. I think this whole album was a strategy from the beginning, especially coming off of One of the Boys just 2 years prior. To go from basic lyricism to a more stylized and focused body like this is an improvement, to say the least, and the achievements this album has prove that. As much as this album is praised today, it wasn't the best one in my opinion. And that would move me into the next album, Prism, released in 2013. It included arguably Katy's biggest song, Dark Horse, and some other hits. Katy has done everything so far. The immature and sometimes offensive on One of the Boys, to growing up into a glitzy and somewhat mature artist on Teenage Dream. There was one thing left for her to do on this next album, to make a graceful pivot from Teenage Dream to serious and completely mature artist. Prism hits their marks precisely, yet isn't stuffy. Not with its feints of trap rap, but even with the prevalence of nightclub glitz, there isn't a shadow of a doubt that Katy has toned down her cheesecake burlesque, opting for a dreamy, sun-kissed hippie Californian ideal that quietly replaces the happy, vulgar pinup of her earliest years. Perry remains an ultimate flirt, but she channels her energies into her long-term relationships. My top songs from this album were Birthday, Love Me, and Double Rainbow. Diving into Birthday, this track is one huge double entendre, comparing someone's birthday to sex. The song is a glorious retro disco explosion delivered to a steady boyfriend, while elsewhere she testifies towards unconditional love. The allusion to this birthday suit and giving him something good to eat every day just top it all off. It's giving sensual, it's giving loving, it's just a perfect song to me, one of her best in her whole career. Love Me, the next song, is about self-love and acceptance. In the first verse, the singer admits to losing herself in fear of losing her loved one and forgetting her own identity. However, she learns to reject her insecurities and love herself for who she is, not for who anyone wants her to be. This newfound self-love helps her stop second-guessing and questioning herself and be the one to define who she is going to be. It's another one of those empowerment anthems, but this one isn't all that cheesy like Firework was. It felt much more genuine and not like a grab at some sort of success or to be relatable. This felt like she was talking from her own experience 100%. The lyrics just kind of roll off her tongue so smoothly, and her delivery is supple, a completely underrated track. Double Rainbow was the last track I wanted to talk about because the song uses the metaphor of a double rainbow to represent the rarity and the beauty of this relationship that she's talking about. The pre-chorus screams relatability and suggests that the singer feels lucky to have found her partner. It plays on the phrase, one man's trash is another man's treasure, suggesting that society may undervalue or overlook her partner, but she recognizes their worth. I loved this section so much and have attached myself to it for some reason. The entire track is so dreamy and captures the feeling of rain, then what comes after perfectly and holding true to the rainbow theme. Now, for the next album, Witness. This album was released 4 years after the last in 2017. It followed 3 singles, all of which were pretty successful. It would have seemed like a logical move for Katy to build upon Prism's adult alternative affirmation, but she instead chose to use Dark Horse as her blueprint for Witness, which isn't inherently bad, but I think it just wasn't meant for me sonically. She used multiple different forces like synths and some electronic beats for a majority of this record, appealing to what was pretty big at the time. It was just a slippery record overall. The songs I did pull out of this were Deja Vu, Bon Appetit, and Tsunami. Starting with Deja Vu, as stated before, it's an electro, R&B tinged track where Katy describes a stagnant relationship where their arguments and issues are the same as they were in the past. When Katy overlooks this relationship, all she sees is the past repeating itself. She echoes this sentiment on the track Pendulum later on in the album, which is another problem I see with this one, repetition. But that is neither here nor there at the end of the day. I think Katy was smart when it came to this song in particular because she uses the phrase deja vu to her advantage, using backing vocals to echo and the use of repeated lines. It just feels insanely ethereal. Next was Bon Appetit, the very sexual and food-related innuendo track talking about filling her partner's appetite. This track also featured the Atlanta-based trio, Migos, which added so much personality to the song. There are iconic ad-libs on top of their stylized trap hip-hop vocals just melted into the song. I also thought this track went through smoothly and gave us more than what we were used to from Katy. Visually, I think it is also very pleasing to watch the music video. The whole buffet preparation thing, it was very fun. The only problem I really had with it was the low notes Katy did. But again, that's not really a huge problem, just a nitpick. The last song I liked was Tsunami. Katy likens love and sex to swimming in an ocean, and the movement with her lover creating a tsunami. The lyrics in the first verse invite the listener back to come close and get lost in each other like open waters. In the second verse, the listener is encouraged to go with the flow and ride the rhythm to the tide. The lyrics suggest that the love is not about fighting against the current, but embracing the unpredictability of the journey. It has a calm production with hints of birds and makes you immediately fall in love with the song. And the rest of the song is just as wonderful, heavy with the ocean metaphors. The lyrics truly do impress me. I don't believe it has any message. It is just placed in the middle of the album with another love song as a break from all the serious songs, and one of my favorites off the album for sure. The bridge of this song is beautiful too, one of the best from Katy in my opinion, especially with the long drawn out "oh" after the first line. And with that, we finally have her 2020 album, Smile. This album carries an air of determined pleasantry. Witness found Perry pushing her artistic limits, an exercise that didn't find an audience, so she chose to retreat to safe territory for Smile. Mostly, this results in Perry devoting herself to dance pop that's cool and glassy on the surface and vaguely positive underneath. It's dance music that's not intended for the club. Rather, it's a soundtrack for everyday events, from work to relaxation. She's not ready to yield the spotlight, yet there's a distinct sensation that she's following fashions on Smile, not setting them. Perhaps it's how the album overall vibe is sunny and melodic, focused on songs and not the beats. It's an aesthetic that's completely in line. There are no moments of exuberance, no dirty jokes, no hip-hop, no bubblegum, only affirmations, love songs, breezy trifles, and paeans to resilience. I liked this change, but it just felt like it sucked the life out of what people fell in love with Katy for, which was fun. Granted, this was a conscious choice on her end, it still feels like at least one joke should have been made. The songs I noted from this album were the title track Smile, Cry About It Later, and Daisies. In the upbeat summer anthem Smile, she goes on to talk about battling failures and rejection before being able to crack that smile. Trying to see the positives in life and being grateful for what one has, even if it took a lot of effort to actually get there. I assume this is mainly just a reference to Witness because that album was considered a complete failure. She had to eat the dirt and face that what she wanted to experiment with just wasn't for her and her fans. I also love the actual production of the song because it welcomes back new disco using a sample of Jamboree by Naughty by Nature. It sets off a new energizing tone and really puts you in a good mood. The second song I liked and wanted to talk about was the lead single titled Daisies, which also was inspired by her planned name for her daughter Daisy Bloom. Unlike her past lead singles, which tend to be more upbeat and bubbly, Daisies featured a mid-tempo production in its verses and a guitar in its chorus. The song encourages listeners to embrace their uniqueness and stay true to themselves, even when others doubt their abilities or try to bring them down. The second verse further explores their loss and belief in magic and the confinement of hope. Perry questions why people have stopped believing in the extraordinary and settled for more mundane realities. I just love the overt and radical optimism the song exudes. It yells and screams out that the world is extraordinary and needs to be explored with no bounds. It has been one of the only songs from this album that I have listened to on repeat. The last song I picked was Cry About It Later. While this is still very optimistic and upbeat, this touches on the subject of temporary escapism and short-lived freedoms to avoid emotional pain. From the get-go, it sets the tone up with the repeated line, "I'll cry about it later, I'll cry about it later. Tonight I'm having fun, tonight I'm having fun." What I truly loved about this song was the acknowledgement of the pain that will eventually happen later after bottling up for so long, but still continuing to ignore it. There's a sense of regret, but living life to the fullest seems much more appealing. I can also praise the production behind this song as well. It's unabashed and is low-key a sleeper hit. It's another mid-tempo and rallies a lot of what I liked on Prism's production into one song. Simplicity. Other than that, there isn't much about this album to speak about. It is better than Witness, but it also isn't her best work. Katy has tried so many things when it comes to her music so far, but on Smile she returned to her roots, just without all the flashy and risque clothing. A lot of the lyrics on this album lean more into even more mature version of Prism, which I did like, but it wasn't all that special. So with that being the final album so far, I will be moving into the rankings. This will be on a best to worst scale, taking lyrical content, music composition, and vocal capabilities into account. Starting with Prism at number 1, number 2 is Teenage Dream, number 3 is Smile, number 4 is Witness, and finally number 5 is One of the Boys. I think as an artist, visually, Katy has never disappointed. She has always given us a sexy and confident yet individualized look, each album having a very specific style, from her iconic whipped cream bikini top to something like her futuristic Chain to the Rhythm outfit. But when it comes to her music, her artistry is lackluster, lyrically. I believe her best work and lyric quality come from Prism, where there are a lot of references and duality to them. Katy Perry has been easily one of the biggest names in music since she began, and her reign hasn't really dulled. Even during her quote-unquote flop era of Witness, she had her hits that kept her going and striving. She loves her double entendres and puns, which she uses throughout her whole career and has made herself stand out as an artist and a creative. And I think that's where I will leave this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Comment down below for who I should cover next, and until next time, bye guys.